every month we get to hear from Marilyn Freed. She's got all kinds of wonderful spiritual nuggets to remind us, to bring them in closer to our lives, yeah? This one's called The Power to Choose, Aligning with Divine Will. Welcome, Marilyn.
Yeah, it's the right name, but the wrong Marilyn.
Thank you. Go ahead.
It says Marilyn Holloway on the
Oh,
screen.
it does. Oh, goodness.
Okay. Is it okay if I speak, Marilyn? Oh, that's pretty cute. That's okay. Okay, so we are working this month with the power of will as Unity teaches it. So we'll look at it a lot of ways. In some ways, we know that will is one of the 12 powers, and we've been focusing on one of those powers each month this year. And I will tell you that I've gone through them before once or twice, and being a Unity True student, and it's part of our basic teachings. And I used to not like looking at them. It's like, oh, the 12 powers again. Oh, no, yeah, this one is this color, and this one's this. And but going through it the way we're going through it this year, for me, it brings it deeper and much more alive than it used to be for me. And I actually look forward to it. So this divine will that we're looking at today is not about forcing our life to conform to our desires, but about consciously aligning our human will with the divine will. And when we do that, we can move through life with purpose and courage and spiritual authority. Now, I found a little bit of an illustration about how this divine will and our will works together. It's about a sailboat. And it said that we should imagine two sailboats on the same lake. Both have identical sails, but one moves through the water effortlessly, while the other one drifts aimlessly. The difference isn't the wind. They both have the same wind. The difference is how the sailor sets the sail, if he's willing to raise it, he or she, or how they do that. So the wind in this illustration represents God's ever-present spirit. That's always here with all of us. But the sail represents our will. Spirit is always moving, grace is always flowing, but the question is never whether God is present. The question is, will I cooperate? Our will, it doesn't create the wind, it chooses to align with it. Now, I'm not a sailor, but that made sense to me. And I've seen that in action. The other part of the wind is sometimes we use that as reference to spirit because we can't see the wind itself or grab onto it, but we can see what it creates, what happens with the wind. So will is not about domination over getting our own way. It's a God-given capacity to choose. Remember, we're given free will and we have the right to choose. So we'll look today about the power of will and how it helps us cooperate with divine life rather than struggle against it. Charles Fillmore described will as the executive power of the mind, the faculty that decides, directs, and carries ideas into action. He taught that every spiritual power already exists and that will gives those powers expression. So our will is what gives us the ability to express those other 12 powers. And it's not stubborn determination, but willingness. It's not forcing. It asks, what is Spirit calling me to become, and what am I choosing today? So it's not something outside of us. It is a capacity to choose from what is within us. It's not something that we have to obey. It's not that old idea of God in the sky that's telling us we have to do this and we have to do that, and we're trying to figure out the answer to the problem, and it's like, well, tell me what to do. It's not that. But it's daily choices, the little choices that each one of us make every day when we get up in the morning. What time do we get up? What do we wear today? What am I going to eat today? Am I going to have lunch? Am I not going to have lunch? All these little choices that we make every day that seem kind of harmless, but we're choosing. We're learning how to choose. So human will versus divine will. Human will says, I know what's best, I have to make this happen, and I must control the outcome. I have to get what I want. I'll be happy when life goes my way. I'll be happy when I have the house I want, the dog I want, the relationship I want, maybe the church building I want, the car I want. You think of it, I mean, you name it. We do that to ourselves. That's operating from the ego's perspective. It's often motivated by fear and pride and impatience or attachment. It asks, how can I get what I want? But human will isn't evil. It's simply limited by what it can see. Like if you're driving at night and you have your headlights on. You can only see a short distance. But you can, divine will says, trust what's unfolding. There's a higher good. Listen before acting. Be willing. It operates from the Christ consciousness within, and it's motivated by love, wisdom, and the highest good for everyone. It asks, how can God express through me? When we have talk about our prosperity, it teaches us that we're supposed to be doing exactly what we want. We're supposed to be able to picture it and do exactly what we want. It's good to know what we want and to be able to visualize it. But then when we partner with divine will, we let go. Divine will doesn't take away our freedom, it expands it. Instead of asking to surrender to our individuality, divine will invites us to express our highest good. So divine will is not making us less. We're not giving up anything, we're expanding and we're bringing something together. Fillmore taught that will is the power that carries ideas into action. Spiritual powers are meant to work together. We talked about that. But will without wisdom becomes stubbornness. Without love, domination. But if it's guided by wisdom and love, it becomes spiritual authority. That's power if we're in spiritual authority. In unity, the goal is not to eliminate the personal, but to educate and spiritualize it. In other words, educate the personal, but add spirit to it to lift up that what we know. So human will says, I know what's best. I have a limited perspective, and it's usually motivated by fear, pride, attachment, and selfishness. But divine will carries our ideas into action. We works together. Without wisdom, we have stubbornness or domination. And guide them by wisdom and love, it becomes spiritual authority. So we have this blend of these two things, of our own will, our own desires. Our desires are implanted in us from the divine. Some of us feel like we had a purpose when we came in, but some of us struggle to know our purpose. But when we cooperate with the divine, it can become clear. Eric Butterworth, you know that he's one of my favorites. often emphasize that God is not that external ruler imposing his plan on or her plan on us. It's spirit. It's not human. It's spirit. But divine will is the activity of spirit expressing through us. We remind ourselves, as we're Unity students, we're reminded that God is not somewhere directing our lives like a puppeteer. Instead, God expresses through us. One of the best known insights is don't go through life, but grow through life. And I kind of chuckle when I say this because I've shared with you before that when my granddaughter was growing up, she came to Unity a lot when she was little, and she had to come with me because I had meetings and so forth. And about a year ago, she had a friend that was going through some hard times, and my granddaughter said to me, I wish that I could share my God with her, because the God that she had was that domineering God and telling her what she had to do, and when she missed something, she thought she was a failure. And she also said one time, and I've shared this also before, but it just comes to mind with this, when we were going through, I was living at the same house when COVID hit, and it was her senior year, and she was very unhappy about not being able to go to school, very frustrated about it, and she said, my whole life, 17, her whole life, all she heard about was how great her senior year was going to be, and now it was terrible, it was ruined, and she was moping around the house and so forth. And I said, well, you have a choice. You can be miserable for this whole time, there's nothing we can do about it, or you can make a choice. And about a week later, she came downstairs and said, I'm not going to be grumpy. I'm going to enjoy this time because and she would start dancing around the kitchen. I can be in my pajamas, and I can eat my lunch whenever I want to, and I can make my own lunch. And she was just thrilled. And the rest of her senior year, after making that choice, was a happy one. And one of the things she said was, I'm not going to go through life, I'm going to grow through life. So where she got that, I can't say that I gave it to her, but she had that. That's what that sentence means to me. Our growth requires choice. No one accidentally becomes spiritual awake, forgives, lives compassion. Each moment offers another opportunity to choose. Will I complain, worry, or hurry? Or will I be grateful and pray and feel joy and express that into the world? Every time we make a decision to feel gratitude, to become joyful, to live the truth I know, and I always emphasize that because I know for me, I always thought I had to know every truth there was. No, I just have to focus and learn to live the truth I know in this moment. Every one of these decisions strengthens a habit. And something like Cindy was saying this morning in a little different way, the habit eventually becomes character. Butterworth also emphasized that we are not merely to survive circumstances, but to reveal the Christ within us. And that revelation begins with our willingness to notice it and do it. Divine will partners with spirit, and Jesus demonstrated this beautifully in the Garden of Gethsemane when he said, not my will, but yours be done. Sometimes we might know in our hearts what we're supposed to do, but we don't want to do it. He demonstrated that in Gethsemane. It was a hard thing he had to do. And so we're called on sometimes also to go through something hard. He demonstrated that surrender to divine will is not giving up. It's stepping into our higher purpose. What higher purpose do each of us have to share with the world? Because I guarantee you, every one of us does. We wouldn't be here if we didn't. He was not surrendering defeat. He was surrendering the truth to truth at Gethsemane. He trusted that divine wisdom could see farther than human understanding. That is strength. That's not weakness. And so we see that this alignment is something that we learn as we go. We have to learn then to balance the 12 powers. We have to balance them together. One power alone can become distorted. We can't use just one. We said this before. Will without love becomes control. Without wisdom, stubbornness. With faith, courage, and with love, compassion, leadership, and understanding. And again, I have a friend whose son, when he was maybe in his late 20s, had a girlfriend that they were engaged, and she was young, and she did everything right. She drove. She never had her phone on when she was driving. She did everything right. She went through school. She did her studies. She was living her life right, and they were looking forward to their future. She got up one morning and went to work. On the way to work, was hit by another car and killed. He was devastated, of course, and he went through a time of grieving. But she has said that he is the most compassionate and loving person that she knows, because he had to go through that at a very young age. He's now married with one child and another child on the way, and living a wonderful life. So we have to go through these things sometimes. So how do we learn how to do this? Practical daily applications we learn. We choose peace instead of reacting. We're always can react really fast, and as Will always says, I'll tell on myself. Yesterday I was coming, I had parked my car and I was going to go in to get a hoagie. I was hungry and I was going to go in to get a hoagie, and as I was walking up the sidewalk, there was a man coming towards me, and he was using a lot of, I'll just use the word foul language, because he was using foul language, and I had been feeling good, and my mind went to, well, that's nice. And I reacted. I couldn't, and it probably wasn't really smart. I did wait till he got past me though. And I just said nice language and kept going. But I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to do that. I could make a better choice. And that's how little daily decisions to restrain ourselves a little bit and come from that divine place within, come from that place of love when things are not going our way, is difficult. But when we do that, human will wants to defend. I wanted to defend myself. I shouldn't have to listen to that on the sidewalk. But divine will asks, what response expresses my highest self? That's what I get to practice. And to follow inner guidance, if you have a difficult decision, instead of rushing, become still and pray and listen and then choose. And that's hard for us. And Rule and I didn't tell him I was going to say this morning, but we're both challenged with having to make a decision about a new vehicle for us. And we've both been going back and forth and so forth, but if we're getting close now, I think, to come to the place of it's time to make a decision. It's time to do something. But not make it out of fear, out of, oh, I have to get it right now, but be patient. So the wind of spirit, it never stops blowing. That wind with the sailboats, that wind is always there. Grace never ceases. Love never runs out. The question is, will we trust the presence within and choose love over fear and faith over doubt? Will we trust the presence and choose that? Will peace over conflict, service over self-interest? Every one of these choices awakens the power of will. Will is not about getting our own way. It's about becoming available to God's way. Are we willing to make the hard choices? Every day we stand before countless choices. Each choice either strengthens fear or strengthens spirit. When we consciously choose love, forgiveness, peace, and faith, we awaken that divine love will that is already in us. So, how are you going to spend the rest of your day and the rest of your week? Are you going to notice when you're coming with fear? That's the first thing that has to happen. We have to be aware. Are you going to do that in your world? Because the world we see, the world we see in our mind is the world that we are creating. And we want to create a world of love and peace and joy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. That is one of the most difficult things, I think, to do. If any of you have done that before, where you say, not my will, but thine be done. It sounds so easy, but it's not. It's actually really, really hard, isn't it? Let's go ahead and bless our speaker today.